So this month I wanted to do more of a behind the scenes look at how I put Bosch's World and all of my other Bosch Star projects together as far as like setting up the cameras and stuff like that. Let's take a look at how I set up my Sony camera and my iPhone to shoot the monthly interviews for Bosch's World.
Okay, so the first thing I need to do is the audio. I have this little lav mic and this little piece that connects to my phone. So obviously I'm not using it right now, but I have to turn it on. I'll clip it to my tank top inside my shirt. Then I have to plug this piece in to the phone.
Now you can hear that my audio is a lot better. I'm going to set up my Sony camera. This camera has its own LCD screen. So when I'm filming, this is usually the camera I have facing me straight on. Now, my Sony camera has its own mic. Now, it's not as strong as the one I'm using for the phone, my little mini lav mic, but this is a good backup mic just in case something goes wrong with this audio. This audio is pretty good as well, especially when I'm in an indoor space like this one. When I'm outside, I have the little wind guard to prevent the wind from going into the mic. So it does work pretty well. So it's always good to have two sources of audio. So here we go. We just set this bad boy up and my battery is low on this battery. So I might just swap this one out. I'm pretty sure they're all charged. They better be. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to set this one up on its tripod. I have to set this one up all the way because I'm a tall fella. I got these tripods on Amazon. They're both the same. About 30 bucks on Amazon each. So not bad. I'm not doing anything too crazy, so I don't need, I can use equipment like this and still be good. And voila, this camera is set up. Now I'm going to take this opportunity to show me setting up the iPhone on the other end.
When I'm only using my Sony camera, I will still record the audio on my phone, but just as an audio file. So I'll go to voice notes and I will press record here.
And voila, you can hear my audio is so much better. I have this device here that tracks my movement on the iPhone. So while the Sony camera is a static shot, I know a lot of times I may move like back and forth and the camera will follow me. It does have a motion detection. So what I do is I set this camera up on here. So let's turn on the motion detector. The camera has tracked me. So if I move this way, it's going to follow me. I believe it does like a whole 360. So no matter where I move, when I first used it, I used it outside and it like literally recorded me the entire way. Look, I can stand between the two cameras. So yeah, this is a pretty cool thing, especially when I am working alone. I don't have another camera person assisting me. So it does help to be able to monitor everything from my watch, having this one static shot looking at me straight on while I have my iPhone following me wherever I move. It does help me shoot these projects like Bosch's World. Anything where I'm being interviewed and I need two angles to cut between, it's perfect. So let's start setting this camera up. I'm going to first set up my static shot as you follow me. So I'm going to set this up here with the screen behind me.
Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad. I got cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad.
Welcome everybody to the February edition of Bosch's World. I'm your host, Ron E. Bosch, and this month it's been a busy month, but nothing really worth vlogging or documenting. Like, I don't even think I have any pictures of myself from this month, which is unheard of. Okay, so on my Instagram, I decided to open up a little Q&A in my stories, leaving it open for questions, also setting up the NGL anonymous questions in case people aren't brave enough to ask me questions as themselves. So I'm going to answer some of those questions now. So first, Have you thought about doing a podcast? I did have a podcast I started a decade ago with Cheyenne called the For Life Podcast, and we went pretty strong for about 3-4 years, and just scheduling wise, it was tough to get us to do the podcast together. Probably one of my first soirees into like producing something and putting it out there, promoting it. It was a lot of fun. The next question is an anonymous question. Ironically, when are you and Cheyenne bringing the For Life podcast back? That's not a question you can ask me. Cheyenne has gone off and done his own podcast. So yeah, you know what? I'm not even going to promote Cheyenne's podcast. This conversation is scheduled for one fall on YouTube and every podcast streaming service. I'm not going to promote it, Cheyenne. No, I'm not. Cheyenne has betrayed me. Do not listen to this conversation is scheduled for one fall every single Monday. Don't listen to it. And this one is from Jam and Jeff, who you saw introduce the vlog of the year at the Bosch Awards. Of all your series, films, projects you've ever done, which is your all-time favorite? That is a loaded question. I have been doing this for about 20 years now, and it is tough to narrow down like what's my favorite because so many projects mean so much to me sentimentally. Like Bosch Star is more series based, where it's series like What the Boss Was I Thinking, looking back at all of my old home videos. That show was a lot of fun. It was the reason why I launched Bosch Star Productions in the first place, to have a channel to put my show on. Going back, like some of my early projects, they may not be as fine-tuned, edited as some of my stuff may be now because I was still pretty new, but I am proud of it. Like obviously Closing a Chapter, that was my first solo project documentary, like looking back at my childhood and my relationship with my father.
Of course he told me he didn't do it, but who would tell him when they did it?
So that was pretty heavy to work on at 18 years old and present to various film festivals in the city, and to go up there and answer questions, to go up there and accept awards. That was a lot. A lot of my college projects, working on some of those, meant a lot to me. Like that first Super 8 project, having my teacher tell me, hey, this doesn't make sense, to then him turning around and saying, hey, come show your film to my future classes, which I did for the next 3 semesters. That in itself was a huge accomplishment. And my senior film, even though it didn't get into the Brooklyn College Film Festival, I put a lot of work into that one and making it look as good as it did, and working. That was my first time working with a team like that. The documentary on Epstein and Hassan, reconnecting with her after a decade since graduating middle school and getting to document her relationship and the comedy she does with her husband. The Boschtober commercials. A lot of my work is just either vlogs or documentaries. So doing these Bosch Star commercials gives me an opportunity to kind of think outside the box. I can't hear the Kanye song without hearing myself singing No More House Parties.
No more house parties.
Do cool stuff like with the green screen where I'm wearing my old birthday outfits, or doing the interview, which was like inspired by the interviews I was doing at Music Choice.
Boschtober, take 33.
Thank you.
To like the documentaries, like the Boschtober documentary, the J.R. Scar documentary, the vlogs, getting to like relive those trips, whether it be the Florida trips with the Major Pod, going to Atlantic City to see Matt win the championship, going to Punta Cana and proposing. A lot of these trips I can now relive. Jeff, it's tough to narrow down what my favorite project is because they all mean so much to me in different ways. Like I love going back and rewatching this stuff and remembering the work that I put into them, or remembering where I was in those moments. So yeah, I don't know. I love it all, Jeff. I love them all. If you were a pro wrestler, who would you want your tag team partner to be, and who would be your biggest rival? I guess current day, I'd probably pick Cody as my partner. Maybe I'm like his cousin on the Cuban side of his family, not the road side. Maybe I'd like eventually turn my back on him and I'd be the heel against Cody. I think that would be a fun story. This one comes from @LoveWrestlingHistory on Instagram. Where are the hoes at? I don't know. Aren't you dating what's her name? No, seriously, what's her name? I can't keep track anymore. This one's from @CheyenneTheVoice. Are you enjoying filming in your new place, or would you prefer the Bosch Cave? Great question, Cheyenne. I still don't want people to tune into your podcast. This conversation is scheduled for one fall every Monday. I like the options that I have here, where I can film in more locations, where I have a variety of spots, but they are more generic. This is probably the most I can do, is putting that Bosch Star YouTube channel up on that screen. So it gives me the option to use these backgrounds for more generic projects like a Bosch's World, where it isn't just wrestling focused. If I'm talking about an event with April and her family, if I'm talking about a pop-up that has nothing to do with wrestling, like the Book of Hove or Only Murders in the Building, it doesn't make much sense to have that background. But when it comes to things like doing my unboxings, yes, I would prefer to do that in the Bosch cave, where I have all of my figures behind me and I could pick a different wall in the room. And I had more of a variety when it came to shooting unboxings. And if I'm going to a wrestling event and I can shoot my intro and outro from the Bosch cave, that was the one benefit. But when it comes to something like Bosch's World, I like having the more generic backgrounds that aren't so wrestling focused, because not everything I do is wrestling related. So I think that definitely helps when I'm discussing something that has nothing to do with wrestling. Welcome everybody to purchases of the month that will end up in storage for the foreseeable future. I'm back here again. It is Valentine's Day, and I'm here with some awesome purchases from this month. Let's start with this one. So here we have the CM Punk Luminaries, his ROH look. This is the look that I was first introduced to from CM Punk. The shorts, the sweater, back in Ring of Honor. I didn't remember ordering this in the protective case because I did plan to open it. Maybe it's a sign to keep it closed. Who knows? I feel like if I do see CM Punk, this would be the figure to get signed, because this is how I was introduced to him. Also, shout out Mary Kate, who took these photos. So it's cool seeing one of your friends' photos make it onto an action figure. And this one finally arrived. The 1 of 1,000 Jamie Hayter from All In. This is such a beautiful figure. The packaging is beautiful. I'm not sure why it took 6 months to arrive. Sucks not seeing Jamie Hayter on TV, but I do have one of my favorite photo op experiences with Jamie Hayter from Grand Slam 2022. This is when she was teasing the split with Britt Baker, and I showed up to the meet and greet wearing a Britt Baker shirt, and she's like making faces at it, and then we take our picture. She's covering Britt's face, despite later in the show staying partners with Britt, and they still haven't split. So I don't know. I guess she did a good job of kayfabing and teasing that there was going to be a split. All right, let's grab some of these micro brawlers. These are two of my favorite micro brawlers. Here is Captain Insano, Paul White, Big Show, Giant, played Captain Insano in the movie The Waterboy. One of my favorite movies growing up. I used to watch it all the time. I actually haven't seen it in forever. Maybe I'll go back and watch it again. I actually do have a Waterboy Funko Pop, so maybe I could display this figure next to the Funko Pop. It suddenly just went black and white in here. And that's because I have timeless Toni Storm. This is such a awesome figure. I'm loving this new gimmick of hers. I met her a few years back at a convention, but I would love for her to do like a meet and greet in her current gimmick, where maybe she's like sprawled out on the table and like you take the photo, like I would take the photo and then just upload it as black and white. So yeah, this is awesome gimmick. I'm a huge fan of Toni Storm's work, and every week I look forward to seeing what she does on TV. And let's keep it AEW themed with the acclaimed ringside exclusive 3-pack. Such a beautiful set. Look at the back. Yeah, the acclaimed and daddy ass. So here it is, the acclaimed 3-pack. This would just look beautiful signed by all three. I am getting Max and Anthony's solo figures individually just to have loose to display with the rest of my AEW figures, but this one has to be proudly signed and displayed. So here we have the Coliseum Collection, Wave 3, Roddy Piper, and George the Animal Steele. I do have Series 1 and 2, but they are in my storage unit. I got them during that weird time period while I was moving, so I never actually opened those. They're both still in their boxes. So this is my first time actually opening one of these. Okay, it seems like it's going to be too much trouble to open. It's going to be too much trouble to open this. I don't want to mess it up, so when I eventually get the Bosch cave, I know I say that every month, I will figure out how to display these because these are such unique figures with the boxes and the way that they are made and the packaging. So I'll figure it out once that time comes, maybe to display all of the Coliseum Collection Ultimate figures. Last but not least, WrestleMania 10. Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon. I'm wearing my Shawn Michaels Valentine's Day shirt. I would say these two men are the reason I am a wrestling fan. These two were the first two that stood out to me. Razor Ramon because he was Cuban. Shawn Michaels just so charismatic. This match was one of the things that solidified my fandom of wrestling. So how could I not commemorate this? I wish I was watching wrestling a year earlier and had gone to Madison Square Garden for WrestleMania 10 just because it would have been so awesome to witness this match. When you open it, so Cheyenne did buy me the set as well. So I think it kind of works out because this is such a beautiful set to display in the box, but also loose. So I could pose them on the ladder in front of the box set. So I think it works out perfectly. Thank you, Cheyenne. I'll be picking that up whenever I see you again. Unbelievable set. So worth the wait. So there you have it. My February purchases of the month that will end up in storage for the foreseeable future. Now we have a couple of questions written in from my daughter, Natalie. I'm not giving her Instagram handle out. Do you use a ring light when filming your videos? And do you sometimes have issues with the lighting while trying to film? Yes, even earlier, I tried to open up those curtains and I realized it left me too dark because it was capturing all the light from outside. Yes, I do have a ring light. If you remember, I got it back in 2020 and I've used it with you.
Where is there a camera?
Right there.
Where?
It's behind the light.
What the hell is that? I look white. Oh my god, I look like I'm your color. Hi. It's so odd. Oh my god.
I don't really use the ring light when I'm filming Bosch's World because the lighting is pretty good up here or if I'm filming outside. But when I'm filming in the apartment, like when I filmed the Bosch Awards, I did use my ring light. So when I film a lot of stuff in my apartment, I will use the ring light for that. Like a lot of the quarantine interviews, a lot of the interviews I shot back in the Bosch cave, I used my ring light for those. And the next set of questions is editing your videos hard? How long does it take you to edit a video? I would say editing is probably the easiest part of these projects for me. My passion has always been editing more so than camera work or lighting or sound or acting. From the time I was younger than you, I knew that editing was what I wanted to do. I was even teaching editing when I was your age. So yeah, I think editing has been what I've been passionate about. Even when going to college, I only had 2 editing classes and I didn't really learn much, but I've taught myself a lot over the years, from Final Cut Pro to Premiere to Avid for work. I've always been pretty quick to teach myself. And as far as how long it takes me to edit these, it just depends on how much time I have to work on these. But I can usually edit these pretty quickly, especially with a lot of these. Like this one might be a little more complicated throwing in the behind the scenes stuff, but it's usually pretty straightforward. Like with this, I'll lay out the interview, split it up for Bosch's World and like take each topic and split it up, cut down the interview, removing all of the ums and all of the useless stuff, tightening the interview up, and then just throwing the B-roll over it, whether it be pictures or videos, and bringing it all together and exporting it. So yeah, it might take me like a few days, few weeks, depending on like how much time I have to actually devote to the project. Thank you for all of your questions. So for the vulnerable moment, I guess I'll keep it production related. I tend to struggle sometimes with like I'll go through like moments where like I'm not motivated or I'm like, oh, do people even care what I post? But then there's part of me that's like, well, who cares if they care? I care. I love these projects. They mean a lot to me. So even if it only has 20 something views, I still enjoyed working on it. I can still look back on it. So I think I struggle with that a lot, with that insecurity of, am I wasting my time working on these projects that nobody cares about? But I love them. I have a few people that do go out of their way to watch them and enjoy them as well. So yeah, I think that tends to be a struggle of mine. Or like, oh, why does this video of me unboxing figures have 20 something thousand views, where these videos I actually put a lot of thought and work into only have 20 something? So what is it that makes this video 1,000 times better than this one? So yeah, I think that's just something that I've always had trouble with, especially now, like when it is in the YouTube day. Like I think it was different back then when I was doing it for a film festival or I was doing it to present to a class. or to my professors, where now it's like I'm putting it on YouTube, so I see the numbers, I see what's being watched and what's not. I try not to dwell on it. I have moments where I do. It's natural. Again, I'm not doing this for money, so it's not like my livelihood depends on this. I think that's what's helped me, is that I have my full-time job. I do make my money. So I don't need to depend on this like some other influencers or YouTubers do. I'm not obligated to put out certain content on a certain day. I'm not depending on advertisers. That's why I am able to be passionate about these projects and not let it stress me out too much. I think if this was my job to do Bosch Star, and since I don't make a penny off of any of this, I can enjoy it without that stress. So there we go. That's my vulnerable moment. Okay, so for this month's Throwback of the Month, and moving forward for the Throwback of the Month, I thought I might switch it up a little bit and film it on a Throwback camcorder. I got this about 1.5 years ago, inspired by Alejandro. You can check out the vlog where I first got this camera. But let's set this thing up. So here it is. Here's the camcorder. The Bosch Star sticker on it. All right, hope these batteries are charged. I haven't used this thing in months. Recording on the camcorder. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Okay, so let's put this on the tripod. Welcome to the February Throwback of the Month, being filmed on my camcorder for the first time. I got to make use out of this thing because I rarely ever use it. Since we're going behind the scenes, I just wanted to show some fun clips of me filming back when I was a teenager. So back when I was like 13, 14, when I got my camcorder for graduating middle school, it was really my first time like editing without knowing I was editing. So I would take 2 VCRs, set it up, connect it to mine, and kind of go back and forth between tapes to edit stuff together. That's how I did my first episode of my public access show. I just remember being intimidated to edit on Final Cut when I finally did when I was 17. And I was like, wait a second, this is what I was doing with 2 VCRs and doing a pretty decent job at it. So I think editing is something that's always been in me, whether I knew it or not. I would also kind of do what I'm doing now, where I would put together a compilation VHS, which was the best of Ronnie, which was just me putting all my videos into one long 6-hour VHS, and I would host in between them. So here are some of the fun clips of me hosting between and introducing things. Unfortunately, the audio sucks, so I may have to subtitle it. It's not like I had an iPhone recording audio 20 plus years ago. Check it out.
What up, this is Bosch, and this is Marlock. Greatest moments, you're gonna see people like Bosch.
During all that time I was at school. Yep, this very whack ass school right here. University Neighborhood High School.
Alright, that was the shit from 2000, which is nothing compared to all the shit that we do in 2001.
Oh, welcome back. Alright, now we're up to the part where we go to the Port Authority and we bother Chada. And we go to the bowling alley. So, enjoy. I'll go back to sleep. Now, during the last week at the bowling alley, my camera got stolen by some fat fuck named Jose. Alright, the video got cut off a little short there, but we're gonna get right back to where we were with the counts and stuff. Alright, peace.
So yeah, there it was. This month's Throwback of the Month is 14-year-old me hosting the Best of Ronnie, which was the original Bosch's World. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Things are going to start picking up next month in March. I have the big event. I have the Becky Lynch book signing. The weather's getting nicer. WrestleMania weekend in April, and that's going to be its own vlog because that's going to be way too much for Bosch's World, and that deserves its own Perps vlog. My first Perps vlog since July, which is pretty crazy, since starting Bosch's World. But like I said in the past, I wanted the Perps vlogs to be what they were in the past, where I'm traveling to events and not just me going to a local show, filming a half hour of the matches, and that's it. Like, that doesn't satisfy me creatively. The vlogs where I go to the live shows and I'm traveling, and I like it where 90% of the vlog is not about wrestling, but it's all about like the camaraderie, the traveling, the spending time with friends, stuff like that. So that's going to be the big Mania vlog coming up. Remember to follow me on X. Let's say it together, guys. Let's say it together. You already know. It's a 0, not a no, thanks to Imagine Dragon. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/BTS Boschstar Productions. Follow Boschstar on Instagram at BoschStarProd, where I may put up another Q&A and you can respond in the stories for that. Pick up your Boschstar merch at redbubble.com/BoschStar. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. It's right there at BoschStarProd. Look at it. Look at it. Remember it. Subscribe to it now.
Fantastic, that's the way